She checked her purse, counted what was left. $1. Literally $1 standing between her and an empty wallet at the end of a brutal week. Cynthia Jay-Brennan was a cocktail waitress at the Desert Inn in Las Vegas, on her feet 8 hours a night, serving drinks to other people's good times while quietly hoping her own luck would turn. That night in January 2000, she sat down at a Megabucks slot machine at the Desert Inn and fed in her last dollar. The reels spun, and the lights went insane. $22,736,814. That's the number that came up on the display. That's the number the casino had to verify, twice, before anyone could even speak. Cynthia sat there with her hands over her mouth while the machine screamed, and the floor staff came running, and the eye in the sky locked onto that machine like it had just witnessed a crime. Because from the house's perspective, in a way, it had. Let's back up. Megabucks is not your average slot machine. It's a wide area progressive, a network of machines linked across dozens of casinos all over Nevada, all feeding into one single jackpot pool. Every spin on every machine in that network adds a small fraction to the top prize. It builds for months, sometimes years. By January 2000, that jackpot had been sitting there accumulating for so long, it had climbed past $22 million. The RTP on a machine like that is notoriously tight. You're feeding money into a system designed to pay out rarely and enormously, like a lottery you can sit down at while someone brings you a free drink. Most people who play Megabucks never hit anything worth mentioning. The house edge on a wide area progressive is brutal. We're talking somewhere between 11 and 17% depending on the machine and the network state. You are not supposed to win. The math is explicit about that. The whole architecture of the game is built around one thing. Keep the jackpot growing until it reaches a number so absurd that the story travels on its own. Free advertising. The casino doesn't need to spend a dime when a cocktail waitress hits $22 million on her last dollar. The story does the work. And here's where it gets interesting. Cynthia wasn't some whale who'd been burning through a bankroll all night. She wasn't a high roller chasing a session. She was a woman who worked at that casino, who knew how these machines were built, who understood better than most civilians that the odds were laughable. And she played $1, one spin. That's it. She walked into work that night with nothing. She walked out a multi-millionaire before midnight. The payout for the Megabucks jackpot at that time was structured as an annuity, 25 annual payments spread over a quarter century. So the headline number, 22 million, was technically the total you'd collect over time. The lump sum option came out significantly lower after taxes, closer to 7 or 8 million in immediate cash. Still life-changing. Still an unbelievable number on a $1 wager. Now, here's the part of this story that almost nobody talks about. The part that turns this into something more than just a lucky spin. 6 weeks after hitting the jackpot, Cynthia Jay-Brennan was in a car. She wasn't driving, her sister was. A drunk driver ran a red light and plowed into them. The crash was catastrophic. Her sister Leela was killed. Cynthia survived, but she was left paralyzed from the chest down. She would spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. $22 million, and the price paid for it, by no fault of her own, was devastating beyond any number. In the years that followed, Cynthia talked about what happened with a kind of grace that was genuinely hard to understand. She said the money helped. It paid for the care she needed, the modifications to her home, the ongoing medical costs that would have wiped out a normal family. She didn't lose the jackpot. The annuity kept coming. But she also said something that landed differently. She said she'd have traded every dollar to have her sister back and to be able to walk again. There's a reason that line stays with people. Because the story of the slot jackpot was supposed to end at $22 million and a fairy tale moment. Life had a different edit. But let's go back to the casino floor for a minute, because there's a mechanical detail here worth understanding. That dollar Cynthia fed into the machine. To qualify for the Megabucks progressive jackpot, a player needed to wager the maximum bet. The maximum on those machines at the time was $3, but Cynthia was playing $1 at a time, and here is the part that actually keeps slot players up at night. On most machines in that era, you had to bet the maximum to be eligible for the top prize. If she had fed in $1 on a machine where the jackpot required a $3 wager, she could have spun a jackpot combination and received only a fraction of the top prize. Maybe a few $1,000s, not 22 million. This detail has been slightly contested in how the story gets told. The key point is, she hit the qualifying combination under the right conditions and the jackpot paid. But the warning embedded in that detail is real and it matters. Always check the rules on a progressive machine before you play. The math is already against you. Don't add a technicality on top of it. I'll say this quickly. Moments like Cynthia's, the ones where someone wins life-changing money from almost nothing, have a way of making every slot machine in the building look like a promise. They're not. I know how these machines work. When I play, it's only at places I've verified myself. Licensed, clean payout histories. No games with withdrawal delays. Where exactly I put in the description. Back to the story. The Megabucks jackpot had been hit before Cynthia, and it's been hit since. In 2003, a software engineer from Los Angeles sat down at the Excalibur on the Las Vegas Strip and hit $39,713,431, the largest slot jackpot in recorded history at that point. He'd been playing for about 3 hours. He asked to remain anonymous. The casino confirmed the number, paid the annuity, and the man walked out of the Excalibur and back into his normal life, quietly. That record still stands for Megabucks and for Nevada slots as of this recording. But Cynthia's story is the one people remember. Not because 22 million is the biggest number, but because of what came after. Because of who she was before. A working woman, not a whale, not a high roller flush with markers and comps and private junkets. Someone who ran out of money and played one more time. There's a version of this story people use to argue that slot machines are worth playing. Here's what I'd push back on. The reason Cynthia's story exists, the reason it traveled this far, is precisely because it almost never happens. The eye in the sky at every casino in Nevada had watched that Megabucks machine eat thousands of dollars across hundreds of sessions and pay out nothing. One night, one woman, $1. That's not a system. That's an anomaly so rare it became national news. The house doesn't build $22 million jackpots out of charity. Every dollar in that pool came from someone who didn't win. The Megabucks network collected that money over months and years from players across the state, each one feeding the machine, almost none of them getting anything meaningful back. Cynthia's jackpot was funded by an ocean of losses the public never hears about. If you've never thought about it that way, now you have. The story of Cynthia Jay-Brennan sits in a strange space between miracle and tragedy. The kind of story that makes you feel lucky and fragile at exactly the same time. If you want to understand the players who actually found ways to shift the math in their favor, not luck, not fate, but cold strategy, there's a full episode on this channel about Don Johnson and the Atlantic City negotiations that will change how you think about the edge entirely. The last question I'll leave you with is this. If you hit a jackpot that changed your life tomorrow, and 6 weeks later you lost something that money couldn't replace, would the win still feel like a win? Think about that, and leave your answer below.